Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to work towards Pincha Mayurasana, which translates as the tail of the peacock pose, but commonly we refer to it as forearm balance or forearm stand. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you're notified when a new video is available. We're going to make a start by kneeling and stretching forward in Adho Mukha Virasana, the downward facing hero pose. So let's use the length of our mat. If we have the big toes touching, the knees a little wider than the hips, keep the buttocks back and down towards the heels and stretch the arms forward. We need to work on preparing our shoulders for coming onto the forearms to balance. Press into the palms, squeeze the elbow tips in so that your arms are strong and straight. And can you get a sense of the inner upper arms and the outer upper arms? Roll the biceps up. So these inner upper arms, roll the biceps up towards the ceiling, and the outer upper arms, the triceps, roll them down towards the floor. Now see if you can maintain that action in the hands and the arms as we transition to downward facing dog pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, tuck your toes. Exhale, lift up the hips, straighten the knees, draw the sitting bones up. And in order to draw the sitting bones up well, lift the heels up high. But then bring your attention back to the action in the hands and the arms. The palms are broad, the fingers are spread. Pressing the entire disc of each palm down into the floor and then push away from the floor. So it's as if the arms and the hands are feeding down into the floor to cause this rebound effect of the torso then lifting away from the floor. Ensure that the elbow tips are squeezing in so the arms are straight. And can you get a sense of what the inner and outer upper arms are doing? Outer upper arms, tricep muscles roll towards the shins. Maintain that. Slowly descend the heels if you feel you've got that capacity to stretch more through the back of the legs while you maintain the lift of the sitting bones. Now let's bend the knees, come down, have a rest. Feel free to cross the forearms, rest the forehead down, relax your arms completely. Now, in a similar manner, we're going to do a dog pose, but this time on the forearms. So if we bring the elbows onto the floor, start with the palms facing up. You can also start with the hips lifted and set your elbows at shoulder width. Palms facing up can help us to roll the inner upper arms forward, biceps forward. And then interlock the fingers. And when you start to bear weight through the forearms, note that the skin sometimes slips, which causes the elbows to slip out wide. Contain the elbows within your shoulder width. The heels of the hands are in contact and the wrists are pressing down. So this little finger edge of the wrist pressing down into the floor. Then like your dog pose, lift up the hips, straighten the legs, and you can look back towards the shins. Lift the heels, lift the buttocks, and intend to create a straight line from elbows through shoulders to hips, from hips through to heels. Now as you drive the forearms down into the floor, press the middle forearms down so that you can equalize your weight from elbows to wrists, wrists to elbows. Then go on pressing the head of the thighs up so that you're lengthening the front body, the abdomen long. And now bend your knees, come down, have a rest. Note which interlock you've taken because we're going to swap that in a moment. So if you like to keep your arms there but simply rest, you're welcome to do that. If you want to cross the forearms, rest the forehead down, do that. But we let ourselves rest. Arms and shoulders relax completely. Thighs also resting. Now let's go again. So once more, start with the elbows within shoulder width, palms facing up, bicep muscles rolling forward. Then as you interlock the fingers, take the opposite index finger to interlock on top and press the heels of the hands together, wrists down into the floor. Remember, as we press down the middle forearms, we're working wrists and elbows evenly into the floor. Then, as you exhale, lift up your hips and keep the heels elevated so that you can magnify the lift of the sitting bones, and that will help to magnify the straightening of the spine. So rather than having the tailbone curling down and the back rounding, can you draw the sit bones up to straighten your back? Now again, bring your attention to the forearms. Press the forearms down, middle forearms down, so that you can equalize your weight through elbows to wrists. Then bend your knees and again come down to rest. Now we're going to change the dynamic a little bit in this same variation and bring the upper arms more into a vertical line, shoulders stacked vertically top the elbows, rather than trying to move the shoulders back towards the lower legs. So let's go again. Bring the elbows shoulder width apart. Go with your favored interlock. Heels of the hands in contact, wrists pressing down. Now, intend to keep your gaze looking forward at the thumbs as you lift your hips up. Inhale, exhale. Lift your hips and keep looking forward towards your thumbs. Pitch the buttocks up, the heels lifted, and as you drive your forearms down into the floor, we want this rebound effect of the torso lifting well away from the floor, and you go on looking forward towards the thumbs, trying to create as much space between the hands, the floor, and your face. Draw the collarbones forward towards the hands. Then come down, have a rest, relax your arms and shoulders completely. Now let's go again. Elbows within our shoulder width, opposite index finger interlocking on top, heels of the hands in contact, wrists contacting the floor. Tuck your toes, look forward towards the thumbs. Inhale, exhale. Lift up your hips, make sure your elbows don't slip wider than your shoulder width. Then as you push away from the floor, keep looking down towards the floor between the forearms or forward towards your thumbs so that you can move the collarbones forward towards the hands and sweep the outer upper arms back towards the shins. Get steady here. Then come down and once more, have a rest. Before we take it any further, let's do one more variation. We'll bring a belt and a brick into place. We'll take our belt and make the loop our shoulder width apart. Often I'll place the loop over the top of the thumb, right over the thumb tip, and lengthen it underneath the elbow. That can be a good indication of whether your strap is shoulder width apart. Then let's take the brick, the full length of the brick between the palms as we press the elbows to the floor. Now see if you can lengthen the little finger side of the hand forward so that this outer wrist, the little finger side of the wrist, can press into the floor. Squeeze the palms and the knuckles against the brick. Inhale, toes are tucked under. Exhale, lift up the hips. You can have your feet apart, that creates a little more stability. Lift the heels so the buttocks can lift, and again look forward towards the floor between the forearms. Drive the forearms down to lift away from the floor. Middle forearms down so the elbows and the wrists can press down as well. Roll the collarbones forward towards the brick. Outer upper arms, the tricep muscles press back towards your shins. Then come down and have a rest. Remove your belt. Rest your head down, relax your arms. Now let's take that practice to the wall, and we'll step the feet up the wall, starting to integrate this experience of being more and more upside down. If we sit with the feet touching the wall, then we're going to mark the line of the back of the hips as the place where we want to put our elbows. Use your belt, take the tail of the belt, put it on the floor directly behind the hips. And then we'll come over onto the knees and we'll place our elbows within that shoulder width strap. If your shoulders feel particularly tight and this is very challenging, practice with your fingers interlocked again. If you feel your shoulders are willing, we'll take the hands around the outer edges of the brick. So again, can you press the palms into the brick, the knuckles into the brick, and lengthen this little finger side of the wrist into the floor. Lift your hips up and bring your feet back towards the wall. Look forward towards the brick and already start to get that sense of rolling the collarbones forward and drawing the outer upper arms, these tricep muscles, back towards the shins. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Lift up your hips. You can press the heels to the wall. Then step one foot up the wall. So here you might like to look back towards the wall. 1 foot up the wall and keep your knees together. This helps you to ensure this foot doesn't step too high. Knees together, then step your second foot up the wall and move the outer upper arms, tricep muscles towards the wall. Lift up through the armpit chest. So you're driving the middle forearms down to rebound the torso up away from the arms. Then go on pressing the head of the thighs up. Feel the pelvis lift away from the rib cage. Then step down, come down, have a rest. Now let's go again. Once more, place your hands around the outer edges of the brick. And this time as we lift up, we're going to take care that we're not collapsing in the spine or the ribs. So exhale, lift your hips up. Step 1 foot up the wall, knees together. Then as you step the second foot up the wall, keep moving your armpit chest towards the wall. But just watch, if you are supple, you're not digging the back ribs in and you're not excessively arching your lower back. So for some of us, we need to draw the sit bones more towards the heels, broaden the back ribs by lifting the lower front ribs up and keeping them contained. So you're not flaring the lower front ribs towards the wall. Then go on driving the forearms down, wrists down, elbows down to rebound the torso up away from the floor. Outer upper arms roll towards the wall. Outer shoulder blades being held into the body. Head of the thighs press up. Lift the pelvis away from the rib cage. Then step down, come down, and again have a rest. Now this variation may be a challenge enough, just trying to keep the feet on the wall and the legs horizontal. If you feel you can take it a step further, we're going to raise one leg up towards the ceiling. And oftentimes this is where we may start to lose our alignment. Particularly those who are supple, we've got to be careful that we're not just flaring the front ribs forward and digging the back ribs and the lumbar spine in. So there's a real need for containing the front body. Let's have a go. Once more, place your belt around your elbows. And if your shoulders feel reasonably supple, you can bring your elbows in onto the line that you marked with your belt. Palms touching the block. So squeeze the palms against the block. One of the reasons we'll have the palms against the block rather than on the floor flat, which we will come to shortly, is because it can help us roll the biceps forward, the inner upper arms forward, and the triceps back towards the wall, which is what we want. Palms touching the brick. Inhale, lift the hips, tuck your toes. Exhale, straighten the legs, heels to the wall. Then step one foot up the wall, knees together. Step the other foot up the wall, feet together. Draw the lower front ribs up, so you're keeping the back ribs broad, lumbar long. Then raise the right leg up. Internally rotate the right thigh, so you're not turning the leg out and losing the alignment in the pelvis. Inner right thigh rolls away from the wall, and you're intending to keep the lower front ribs lifted and contained. Then step that right foot to the wall, raise the left leg. Internally rotate the left leg so that the inner thigh rolls back away from the wall and the pelvis stays level relative to the wall. Then go on containing the front ribs. Lower front ribs lift up. Draw your right sit bone towards your right heel to stop yourself from digging the lumbar spine in. Then step the left foot down, all the way down to the floor. Come down and have a rest. Remove your belt. Completely relax your arms and shoulders. Now, directly from that practice, we could go ahead and try to kick the legs up towards the wall to come into the full pose. However, I'm wanting to work with more awareness in the leveling of the shoulders, the opening of the shoulder joint, in continuing to define the pose and prepare the shoulders. In order to do this variation, we will use a chair. We need a chair that we can use the seat and have that as our backrest, so to speak. Now, these yoga chairs do tend to collapse unless we tie them together. So we can use our belt, make your loop significantly large, then have the buckle facing you. Bring the front legs of the chair into your belt. So you've got your loop, the legs of the chair are inside the loop. Then we take the back of the loop over the top of the chair, so it's over the chair seat, and we'll pull the strap, the belt, tight. So now the chair won't fold up. From there, we turn the chair onto its back. So the four legs of the chair are pressing into the wall. And we have the chair seat as our backrest while we're doing our preparation for Pincha Mayurasana. So clearly you need a chair with no backrest. That's why these yoga chairs are known as yoga chairs, because they're specifically designed for yoga. We're going to take the hands underneath to hold the crossbar at the back here. So the palms will be facing up. Now again, this helps us to roll the biceps forward and draw the outer upper arms, the triceps back towards the shins. So let's bring our hands into place. Curl the fingers around your crossbar and keep your elbows contained, shoulder width. Then head down so the back of the head can press into the chair, and you lift the hips up. As you walk in, let's establish hip width feet, so we've got a little more stability there. Lift the heels up and drive the wrist side of the forearms down. Sometimes it feels like the elbows are pricking into the floor, so drive the wrist side of the elbows down into the floor, and then as you drive the forearms down, lift the torso up, but notice, are the deltoids coming off the chair? Can you bring the deltoids back to the chair seat and then lift the armpit chest up more? So there's this rebound effect that happens when we bring deltoids, those bulky shoulder muscles, to the chair seat. Armpit chest can lift up, front body can lengthen more. Keep the heels lifting high as you establish the height of the sitting bones. So ideally we've walked in close enough to the chair that we're pulling the hips back, vertically top the shoulders. The spine is lifting up straight, and as much as possible the legs are straight. Press the head of the thighs up, the very top of the thigh where the thigh meets the torso. Press that area up to create more length in the front body. Then we get steady here. Remember, the deltoids are touching the chair. Neck and throat relaxed. And now we'll slowly come down. Bend the knees, walk your feet out, come down, all the way down, and rest. Now we're going to go again and see, can we raise one leg at a time? Elbows within shoulder width. Lift yourself up. Start with the feet together now. Deltoids to the chair, rebound the armpit chest up towards the sides of the waist, and then raise the right leg up. Internally rotate the right leg. So even though you might be supple and you might be able to reach that right leg further back towards the wall, notice what you're doing in the hips. Are they coming out of alignment? Can you roll the inner right thigh back towards the wall, even if the leg isn't moving back towards the wall as much as you'd like? Cut the outer left hip up. Press the head of the left thigh up and go on internally rotating the right leg. Inner right thigh rolls back towards the wall. Then step the right foot down and raise the left leg up. Internally rotate the left leg. Inner left thigh rolls back towards the wall, so the back of the pelvis stays level relative to the wall. Lift the outer right hip up, all the while driving the forearms down to the floor to lift up, torso well away from the floor. Keep breathing. Then step your left foot down, come down all the way, and rest. Having done a lot of work already on preparing the shoulders, we will attempt to kick the legs up. We'll find the wall first. Some of us will be able to take the heels off the wall and free balance. But if you feel in the attempt of kicking up that you're going to fall down onto your head, then I'd suggest you need to do a little more work in developing your strength and mobility in the shoulders. We'll take our belt and again make our shoulder width loop. And if you do feel tight in your shoulders, Go with the fingers interlocked. That's the more accessible variation of the hands. Otherwise, we can start with the full length of the block between the palms as we did earlier. The strap is just above the elbow creases. We'll place the palms around the outer edges of the brick, knuckles of the fingers touching the brick, bicep muscles, the inner arms rolling forward towards the brick. Inhale, exhale, lift your hips up, walk forward, shoulders vertically top the elbows, look towards the floor between the forearms. Prepare to kick up off one leg. Inhale, exhale, kick up, find the wall with one heel, other heel, internally rotate your thighs, slide the heels up the wall, lift the tailbone up and press your middle buttocks forward. Drive the forearms down, elbows to wrists, wrists to elbows. Go on looking forward towards the floor between the forearms. That's going to help you free balance eventually. Let's come down for a moment. We'll have a rest. Lower one leg, other leg. Come down, have a rest. Completely relax your arms. Now we're going to change the positioning of the hands. We're going to have the palms flat on the floor with the thumbs on the front edge of the brick facing you and the index fingers on the outer edges of the brick. Can you roll the thumb side of the wrist down towards the floor? Pressurize the knuckles of the index fingers down. Lift your hips up as you exhale, feet together. Draw the shoulders forward so they vertically top the elbows. If possible, kick up with your alternate leg. Bend one knee, prepare to kick up. Inhale, exhale, find the wall with one heel, the other heel. Then as you dig the heels into the wall, press the middle buttocks forward, direct your tailbone up. Keep looking at the floor between your forearms and roll the collarbones forward towards the hands. That's going to help you come into a free balance. Take one heel off the wall, the other knee's bent. Feather the wall with those toes. Keep rolling the collarbones forward towards your hands. Engage the abdominal muscles, press the middle buttocks forward, tailbone up, and then see, can you take your foot off the wall? Steady breath. Then come down, slowly find your way down and rest. When you rest, keep your arms forward so there's space for the heart. Now, if you still have some energy, let's go one more time. Place the palms flat onto the floor. Remember, if that's too strong, you can always come back to interlocking the fingers and it may be more accessible. Shoulders stacked vertically top the elbows. Lift your hips up. Prepare to kick. Inhale. The leading leg stays straight. Exhale. Find the wall. So initially find the wall, lift the tailbone up and lift your lower front ribs up. Contain the lower front ribs. Keep looking towards the floor between your forearms, one foot off the wall. Feather the wall with the other foot, the toes. Grip the abdominal muscles, press the middle buttocks forward, and then find your way into a balance. Lower front ribs lift up. Look forward towards the brick. Collarbones forward towards the brick. And then come down, all the way down, and rest. Sometimes the free balancing can be elusive and it takes time to develop our strength and stability enough to come into a balance. But again, it's practice, practice and repetition. And one day it comes. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.